Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Let me turn my 639 hertz frequency down in the background. Peace and love. How y'all doing? It is a beautiful Sunday evening. Actually, today is, let me just make sure I have my date correct. Sunday, I'm losing track of time, as I know a lot of us are. Sunday, September 18th, 2022. I pray that this message, reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I'm doing really well. I'm really excited about doing this topic today. Excited in multiple ways. It's not like happy, joy, because we're going to talk about some heavy subjects today. But I am excited because this conversation is a long time overdue. And I've been, addressing the culture and hip hop obviously continuously for some time now. But I know the context of the world that we're living in right now and the spiritual warfare that's taking place and how Black entertainers in particular are being used as tools in this war, which has become extremely evident for me in the past 2.5 years in particular. So this conversation is right on time, I think. And it's 9:30 on the West Coast, probably 12:30 on the East Coast. I know y'all stay up late anyway, so hopefully you guys are with me on the East Coast. But even if you watch this video later, this is my contribution to the culture, so to speak. I was born and raised on hip hop. I am from Oakland, California. I grew up on all West Coast hip hop, but I also grew up on East Coast hip hop as well. So I feel obligated, I feel responsible, and I feel, you know, I feel like it is my duty and my right to address all of the things that I'm going to say today. And I want to make sure that I'm clear between Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, Kanye West, in particular. I'm going to talk about all these people you see on the screen during the course of this series. This is only part one. This is going to be a, if in order for me to really address this the way that I feel inspired to, I have to kind of break this up in different segments. So we're only going to go an hour per segment. And this is only part one. And it may end up being 4 or 5 part series, or maybe just 3-part series. But today I'm going to talk about some specific subjects, but I would just want to preface everything that I'm getting ready to talk about and that I'm going to talk about over these next couple of videos pertaining to this topic. I've been accused over the years of being, overtly critical, of judgmental, of self-righteous, of hating, right? Because I've always been, warning when I saw the writing on the wall in hip hop culture and the way that it was moving in terms of the over sexualization of females and women. I've been talking about that for 10 years now, and it's at such an extreme diabolical level at this point. And it's unfortunate that only a rare few among us, and even rarely in the hip hop community, that are actually addressing the overt, sexual nature of female rap in particular. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I am going to talk about that in the coming videos. But I've also been talking about that consistently, right? So just keeping in context everything that's happening in the background: spiritual warfare, 2022, what's been going on the last 2.5 years, right? And the broader context of where we are in terms of this human dichotomy and what's getting ready to happen next. So this conversation is just going to kind of be hip hop as a focal point, but also emphasizing that Black energy and Black culture and the essence of Black America in particular is being harnessed and is being used in very subversive ways to divert attention globally, and also to harness energy to feed the wicked energy that is in charge of this agenda in the background, right? But in terms of the what's been projected on me, because I've been talking about hip hop and I've been talking about Black females and how we're representing ourselves, and talking about curse words like sexual discipline and abstinence, right? And trying to raise the vibration on the conversation in terms of the overly promiscuous nature of our culture, and holding women accountable and holding men accountable. I just want to make sure that in terms of Nipsey, in terms of Kanye, in terms of Pop, and at times in terms of Biggie, these are all people that I have heavily celebrated, heavily supported, heavily used my content to show my appreciation for something they did for the culture, or something they said in an interview, or specific type music. So I think we have a big issue now with, not being able to have constructive conversations and talking about things that are really affecting our culture in a detrimental way. There's way too much neutrality, and especially with the things that I'm going to talk about today and over the course of this series, and how Black culture in particular is not only being used, but is also, owning and accepting and becoming and evolving into this really parasitic, low vibrational sort of representation. Now, of course, we're beautiful and talented and powerful and smart. So, well, not all of us are smart, but our culture is magnetizing. It's magnetic, right? That's why they're able to harness our energy, the good and the bad aspect of it, right? But I just want to kind of put that out there, because people just dismiss when you start taking people to task or start challenging people in terms of accountability and responsibility. Like these new generations, maybe one, maybe two, I don't know, but like there's this real soft hearted, weak-minded, element to us really being able to have real conversations without people kicking and screaming and having tantrums in the comments, right? We're not here to do that. We're here to talk about what's happening in our culture and, dangerous and detrimental things that may be happening, as well as the good things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get into this. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Much love to the family in Detroit at 12:32 a.m. I appreciate you guys all for joining me. This is going to be a great conversation, and I'm not going to talk long. I promise. I have my clock on. I have a time frame in mind, and make sure you guys share this video once it finishes. I got major censorship going on all of my channels, my platforms. Instagram, you can't even find my name right now. You can't tag me. Facebook. YouTube is also, disallowing people to see my content. So please share my content, hashtag ZaZaAli if you can't tag me, to help me get the algorithm off my back. All right. Much love. And Instagram, I_am_ZaZa_Ali if you can find me. And then my website is ZaZaAli.com. So let's go ahead and get into this. Oh, before we get into this, wrong slide, my bad. As a reminder, I'm speaking in, I have a wise, intelligent, dope video I thought I was getting ready to play, but okay. So ZaZaAli will be in Brooklyn, New York, September 24th, 2022. Get your tickets at ZaZaAli.com. I'm having a sale for 24 hours on Atlanta tickets. If you want to go, you can get 20% off from now until midnight tomorrow. That sale is going to end then. And then also I've written 2 books, 4 metaphysics workbooks, and I also have an exclusive content website. You can find information about that at ZaZaAli.com. Okay. All right. So now let me not make myself look silly again.
A lot of what is said is actual fact. It's actual fact. Yet it also speaks to the environment in which we are embedded as young Black males and females in this particular society. Hip hop changing from positive to negative was not a consequence of history. It was not a circumstance of history. It was nothing that just happened on its own. It had nothing to do with the changing of the times. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the fact that there are people in this particular society who wants to see us exactly where we are. And we cannot let that point elude us. These are the facts. How do we know? 1967, Kerner Commission report on urban disorder. When Black people said, yo, we're tired of this system. You know what I mean? This system is oppressing us. So we rebelled against the system. We burned things. We said, yo, we had enough. He did his little report on what caused these riots. He said, what caused these riots? He said it was young children who started these riots, and what was motivating them was a high self-esteem and an enhanced racial pride. He said the majority of the rioters were high school dropouts, but they had a higher political orientation than their peers who did not drop out. And they saw the system as their enemy, so they attacked it in the right circumstance. So fast forward to 1992. Same thing. #1 record on the radio. We had Fight the Power. Fight the Power is on the radio. Rodney King is beaten before the world. The Black youth rebelled against the system. Again, they did it again. And why? What primed them? Positive hip hop. Primed them. Fight the Power. X-Clan. Brand Nubian. You had these groups out here who were pushing, who were politically orienting Black kids in the right direction, giving them the proper prompters that they needed so that they can respond properly to oppression. All right? In 1967, when the riots happened, he saw that the self-esteem and the racial pride was fueling this. So he said, how do I bring that down so that they will not riot? And what he did, he flooded the airways with Black exploitation movies. Nigga Charlie and the Return of Nigga Charlie. These were movies. Hip hop didn't start calling people niggas. We had Shaft. We had Coffee. Black girl turned prostitute to do whatever, you know what I mean? But these black exploitation movies brought down the self-esteem and the racial pride so that the kids will not rebel against the system of oppression. 92, the racial pride was back in effect. We had black kids going to Dr. Ben yucking in lectures. We were spending our money to go see Farrakhan speak as opposed to going to a strip club. This is where we were. The most coveted article of clothing was a historically black college or university sweater. We were motivating children towards positive attitudes and lifestyles. And when Rodney King got the beating, has responded properly. Fast forward to our day. Sean Bell is shot 50 times in the street in New York by police officers. #1 song on the radio, Like a Lollipop. Nobody do nothing. Nobody responds to nothing. Trust me. Just like the brother, I believe it was JT, the bigger figure, who said that the label executives came to him and said, yo, brother, we need you talking about guns and whores. Right. You know what I mean? That's right. That happens. I've been in those meetings with management and had to ask me, is what you're saying really what you believe? So that we'll know how to market you properly. You know what I mean? This happens. Young Buck on his album, he has a song on his album that talks about police terrorism. The label said absolutely not. Jimmy Iovine said absolutely not. You cannot put that record on the album because it might create an atmosphere that might put police officers' lives in danger. So they took the record off, but they let him keep the other 14 songs on the album that talked about killing black youth. So this is what we're doing. We're not dealing with a circumstance or consequence of history. You know what I mean? The environment that we're embedded in puts us in a situation where we feel we have to maneuver and play the game and water our message down. You know what I mean? But no, what happened was they intentionally shifted the paradigm to get us exactly where we are right now. Right now, we're feeding the prison industrial complex right now. Our kids are going to prison because they're promoting these records. They're promoting these records daily that send us to jail. You know what I mean? It's cool to go to jail. You know what I mean? They glorify these things. It's not the black youth. We're in a position where we get, like the brother said, the choice. You know, he said, yo, I chose the positive. So I didn't do it. But every youth is not going to take that route. I know I come from the projects. Grew up in the projects all my life. You know what I mean? And we're not turning down $500,000 to say nigga. We're not going to do it because we won't turn down $200 to take a package of crack from one corner to the next. You know what I mean? We live in a state of poverty and want of all things. So it's hard for us to make that. Our judgment is clouded. And they knew that the judgment would be even more clouded if they took groups like X-Clan off the radio. This is just what it is. And until we start to deal with the environment that's shaping the behavior, we'll never get to this. We have to confront that.
Shout out to Wise Intelligent. This is one of those legendary clips that just will forever be timeless, and it's just as relevant, if not more, today than it was at the time of this panel discussion. But you know what's interesting? He talked about how they wanted them in the boardrooms in these corporate environments. They wanted them to talk about guns and whores, right? Now, even Jay-Z's been adamant over the years in his music, saying that nah, the corporate thugs is like, nah, ho, talk that shit, right? Now, so people like me are considered conspiracy theorists, right? Pseudoscientists, take your pick, in terms of things that I and many others have talked about in terms of, I saw somebody say the Hegelian dialectic principle in the chat room. I've been talking about that for a very long time now. I've been very vocal in the last 2.5 years, but I also wrote a book called The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs in 2016, where I talked about the Jim Jones juice at that time, as well as how science was being used against melanated people around the world through organ trafficking, through crack cocaine, through God, my brain just went dead. And then also talking about chemtrails and some of the other things. But my point is, when you talk about that type of stuff, you're considered a conspiracy theorist, right? That's too much for the average person to bear. But when you think about this concept that there's been a long-standing projection and force, if you will, actually not force, because nobody was ever really forced to sign those contracts or to make those choices, but heavy pressure and monopolization off of Black energy and Black culture. And also, you talk about the algorithm creating consciousness, right? You know how I say the organic method is that consciousness creates reality, but the synthetic, Satan's reality is the algorithm creates consciousness, right? And the algorithm has been creating consciousness for some time now. So as we're going to see in just a minute with the concept like drill rap, right? That is a very strong example of the algorithm creating consciousness, where people are seeing something or hearing something that resonates with their suffering, that resonates with their pain, right? And that also looks cool and fly and is, the more likes it has, the more views it has, the more people that are tuned into the lives, right? The more numbers, in terms of downloads and streams, right? All of these things constitute how popular people are. It's the same thing when you watch the news. On CNN, they'll say 44% of Democrats voted for, immigration, let's say, are pro-immigration, and 56% of Republicans are anti-immigration, right? Well, how do we know that? I don't trust any of that. I've never been polled for any governmental, poll, but I'm saying that to say that these numbers, whether they're real or fake, they are projected forward. And because people accept them as true, it magnifies whatever the intention of the energy is, right? So talk about guns and whores. That's a conspiracy theory that most Black people can wrap their minds around. And imagine how wicked the intention has to be to pay a rapper, a certain millions of dollars, or, sign specifically based on talking about low vibrational negative things, opposed to harnessing their original, real, true talent, the real, true talent in essence of who they are. People say sex sells and violence sells. Oh, the people won't support the music. That's if you rap conscious. That's because there's no machine around behind rapping conscious. If there was a machine behind rapping conscious, people would absolutely gravitate towards it. The universe bends towards positivity. So people are always going to be naturally inclined to listen to content that makes them feel better about themselves. But the problem is the machine behind the low vibrational music is so strong and so loud. And then because we live in a culture with herd mentality, people are naturally going to go in the direction that everybody else is going.
Gunna turned himself in to the Fulton County Jail this morning in connection to racketeering and drug charges in a sweeping indictment that was handed down Monday.
One Fulton County attorney says it will be a difficult case to beat. Fox 5's Joy Dukes has more on why.
In a press conference Tuesday, Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis said her office has prosecuted at least 4 or 5 RICO cases since her term began. We spoke with a local defense attorney who formerly worked in the Fulton County DA's office about the challenges and advantages that lie ahead for prosecutors building this case. RICO charges have been filed and arrests made in a widespread racketeering case that names Atlanta rappers Young Thug, also known as Jeffrey Williams, and Gunna, also known as Sergio Kitchens, plus 26 other members of their group, YSL.
We'll ask on the different charges for the maximum penalties, and there's obviously many people that are looking at life under this indictment.
Criminal defense attorney Manny Aurora, who once worked in the DA's office that filed those charges, says doing so through the RICO Act, which stands for Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization, is a strategy that's become increasingly popular in the effort to prosecute individuals deemed gang members.
Charging somebody in a gang statute or under a RICO statute makes it much easier to convict them because you get to bring in so much extra character evidence.
Fulton DA Fonnie Willis saying at Tuesday's news conference, it's a tool she believes in.
It allows juries and the communities to see the complete picture of a crime so they can truly be educated and have facts to weigh when they're making decisions.
Under the RICO statute, charges any of the defendants face individually can be shared.
You've got so many defendants, no matter what number 28 did, is going to go back on number 1, even if they've never met each other.
Devin Rafis, who is an attorney with Aurora's law firm, says while the scope of evidence in a RICO case this size can make keeping up with the evidence a challenge for prosecutors, it could also open the door for prejudice against the defense. This indictment includes song lyrics from Williams.
It should be protected under the First Amendment as constitutional free speech, right? The problem is they use that and they bring it in and say, well, he talked about committing murder or doing drugs in this lyric that he wrote, so he must have done it.
With the seriousness of the charges, Aurora predicts it's unlikely any of the defendants will be granted bond. Willis also said that the public can expect to see the Fulton County DA's office bring RICO case indictments against other street gangs that they've identified as well in the near future. In Atlanta, Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
It's interesting that he mentioned the First Amendment when we are in a time of extreme censorship. And I think this is one of those things that most people aren't really considering. While they're censoring people like me, it's one thing, but when they start, utilizing your social media context or messages or shares or like against you with the potential of establishing a social credit system, which they actually already have done. On social media, I have been extremely deranked over the past, year for sure, but 2 years definitely, or, partially. So there's already a social credit system in place right now. So the concept of the First Amendment in the United States of America actually no longer exists. Young Thug and Gunna reportedly arrested, named in 56-count indictment. The indictment includes charges of conspiring to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations, or RICO Act, murder, armed robbery, participation in criminal street gang activity, Satan's tweeted. According to 56-count document, the 56-count document, Young Thug is facing charges of participation in street gang activity and conspiring to violate the RICO Act. Gunna is facing 1 count of conspiring to violate RICO. Prosecutors reportedly allege that YSL is a criminal street gang who are affiliated with the Bloods. Young Thug is facing serious charges. The report stated that he is accused of renting a 2014 Infiniti Q50 sedan from Hertz, which was used in the commission of the murder of Donovan Thomas Jr., a rival gang member, on January 10, 2015, according to the indictment. As if this wasn't already shocking, Seaton reported that Young Thug was named in an attempted hit on YF and Lucci. Young Thug and Lucci were previously at odds. And then I didn't put it here, but apparently there was a second attempt that Young Thug was tied to in terms of trying to get at YF and Lucci while incarcerated. There was something specific here that I wanted to focus on. Oh, so in terms of the community response, right? Because I watched some videos that were talking about, and I've also seen, rappers come to Young Thug's defense and talk about the good that he's done in the community, that he's done in the culture. Well, first I want to say he's innocent according to United States law, whatever that's good for at this point. He's innocent until proven guilty, right? So all of these allegations are alleged. I don't know how true any of this is or not. Do they have hip hop police? Yes. Do they have, are they specifically targeting rappers and hip hop artists? Yes, they are. But, we also know that there is a lot of, the hood politics and the world of the streets is a whole different ballgame. And while, yes, there are a lot of rappers that are talking about things that they're not actually living, we also know that there have been consistent stories and tragedies of rappers that actually are living it, right? I'm not a fan of Young Thug, but I have heard his music. I also am going to show, I think the next couple of slides, images of him online holding guns, looking really silly, right? And then also juxtaposing the fact that he's become sort of like a fashion icon, and he's been used in different high profile celebrity magazines and online publications as this high profile rapper. This high fashion icon, right? And so you have now the collective consciousness and also mainstream culture starting to accept this very violent language and music that is very counterproductive in terms of how I feel like our people, particularly our men, should be representing themselves, especially when you see the ripple effects of what it has done globally to our culture and our people. This is one of the images from the news report that we just saw. I think it was the one we just saw, or the one after this. But these are images of Thug, if Thug, Young Thug, Thugger, whatever they call him. Him at the top, I believe that's him holding a gun. Him at the bottom right, I believe that's holding a gun. I can't see his image all the way clear, so if it's not, you guys can correct me. But this was on the Fox 5 News report, so I would assume, why else would they be showing it unless it's actually him? And then I just put the image of the boy at the top right because I searched drill music and a bunch of images came up. But this young boy popped up, and he can't be any more than, I would say, 13, 14 at the most, looking at his, he looks small. And he's holding two guns, right? And you often hear these rappers talk about how I'm not a role model and that's not my responsibility, and parents are supposed to raise their children. That's cowardly, and that's weak, and that's no longer an acceptable response, especially when you're online holding guns and projecting this level of violence and stupidity in the culture. You don't have to be a role model, but you can also be an enemy. And this is enemy type behavior right here, to be projecting this out into the world to represent our culture. That's like, when I talk about Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, and I'm talking as a woman, like women should be offended. Every woman has a right to represent themselves however they choose. But women are an ecosystem, and Black women are an ecosystem, and representation matters. That's why all these people are so, happy and excited about The Little Mermaid right now. That's why people get happy and excited when, Wakanda Forever and a lot of these different commercials, and, the latest Black girl who's become a tennis celebrity star, and, represent. And this is also why Louis Vuitton and Coach and all of these big time brands pay celebrities to wear their clothes. They're not doing that just for the sake of, seeing so-and-so, wearing Fendi or wearing Burberry. It's because it affects the collective consciousness, and people go out and buy that because they're wearing it. So the idea that you don't have any responsibility based on the way you carry yourself, especially once you become a celebrity, right? And you got, children and young people listening to your music, and, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million followers. It's you have to accept accountability and responsibility.
Details this morning in a gang indictment naming rappers Young Thug and Gunna. We've just learned Gunna, whose real name is Sergio Kitchens, was booked sometime in the last few hours on a RICO charge. He could have a first appearance before a judge this morning. So this comes less than 24 hours after Young Thug appeared in court on these charges for the first time. More than 25 people are listed on the same indictment as Young Thug. And in it, prosecutors used the rapper's own lyrics as evidence. Ariana Maniz in studio with us this morning to walk us through the very latest on this one. The layers just keep on getting peeled back on this one, Ariana.
That's correct, Aisha. Many of the charges related to the indictment point to Young Thug's rap lyrics as well as social media posts as evidence. Now, Young Thug's songs and music videos were listed in great detail by Fulton County authorities. Lyrics such as, "I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body." The indictment also tied the rapper to the murder of Donovan Thomas. That's the leader of a rival gang, pointing to lyrics which state, "I killed his man in front of his mama." One of the people charged with his death was a member of Thug's YSL label. Now, using lyrics and social media posts could present a challenge for officials, and that's according to 11 Alive's legal expert. But District Attorney Bonnie Willis says her office can indeed use the music as evidence. Take a listen.
I believe in the First Amendment. It's one of our most precious rights. However, the First Amendment does not protect people from prosecutors using it as evidence if it is such.
Meanwhile, Young Thug's attorney maintains that his rap label is not a street gang. The rapper's attorneys, they have also filed a motion requesting an expeditious hearing for a judge to consider giving the rapper bond. Back to you.
All right, Ariana, thank you. Both Gunna and Young Thug are known for giving back to their communities here around Atlanta. For some perspective on this, our Sheba Russell sat down with author and trap music expert A.R. Shaw to talk about the impact of this indictment.
And he's a nice kid. Like I've talked to him, I spoke with him, comes from a good family, and he's always giving back to the community. You mentioned his efforts to give back to McNair Middle School and the grocery store where students have healthier options. They have options to get clothes and shoes and snacks. And so he's been very helpful for the community. So it means a lot when someone of that stature who gives back is put under this microscope.
Yeah, so think about that. A really conflicting time for the communities these rappers have helped. You can watch our full conversation on the impact of this indictment right now on 11alive.com.
So G Miller in the comments section just says, ZaZa, I believe you're full of shit, and now you're helping the police with your description and summary. What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is the cultural impact and the spiritual implications of this. I haven't said anything about everything that I've talked about so far is readily accessible on the internet. If Young Thug is your God, then exit stage left. If Young Gunna or any of these people that I'm getting ready to talk about is your God, then you can exit stage left. None of these people are beyond reproach just because they're celebrities. There's so much clown shit and dangerous, violent activity happening in our culture, and you have the audacity to question me. Perhaps they're innocent. We know they're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So perhaps they're innocent. But when you look at the imagery and when you look at the language in the songs, and when you look at the chronology of everything that's happening, it doesn't look good. That doesn't mean they're not going to be able to give them some sort of pin, some sort of overcharge them and overextend the charges and make it seem like they were these big time drug dealers when they barely had information. That's what the United States legal system does. But that also doesn't mean that they're innocent. And so you ask yourself, what does it mean? If they actually are guilty of murdering Black men in the city of Atlanta, are they still worthy of your support? Because that is a potential outcome at this point. This dude said in his song, he killed his man in front of, he said, I killed his man in front of his mama. Even if you're lying, even if it's just a show and an act, even if you're just using words and, using lyrics to whatever it is that you're trying to do in a song, project gangster rap. I don't really live it. I just did it for the music. Oh, okay. Well, why would you say something like that? You killed somebody in front of their mom? What part of your imagination produced that level of thought and consciousness? Who even thinks like that? So slow your roll in terms of trying to project onto me. I'm not, Young Thug might be your issue. Gunna might be your issue. My issue is the 13 and 21 and 30-year-old Black boys and Black men in Oakland and in LA and in Brooklyn and in Dallas and all across this country that are actually trying to find themselves and that are getting caught up in all of this corny shit that's happening in our culture. You're trying to be funny in the chat room, but that doesn't really mean anything to me. You're proving my point. Our culture does not take self-accountability. We want to talk about everything and everybody else except the shit that we need to work on. You are part of the problem. That's that weak-minded beta male mentality. If you're a male, I don't know if you're a guy or a gal. That's that weak-minded mentality. That's that silly court jester mentality. That's that I'm somebody's boy mentality. I want to talk to the kings that are listening. I'm not really thinking about the mediocre minds that are tuned in. I'm not here for you. How did you even get to my site? How did the algorithm even bring you here? Get up out of my chat room with that stupid shit. Here it is. We talking about potentially Black men in Atlanta, Georgia being murdered. You can't even have a serious conversation about some real shit that's happening in our culture every day. I'm getting ready to talk about drill music and how it's affecting Black men in our culture all over the world. And you got the audacity to try to be a smart ass in my comments. You're not impressing anyone but yourself. And I don't even know why you're impressed. You need to go take a look in the mirror. What I meant to say when I started the video, I had asked my homegirl the other day when I was planning this, because I was originally planning on doing this video in on Saturday, right? Hold on one second. Let me just go up in this chat room and make sure that everything is copacetic. This is why, being online and just having access to, these type of mindsets, you know what I'm saying? And these type of characters, like, I don't have people like this in my world that say silly, goofy shit like that. That type of game, goofy conversation and mentality. I don't have to confront those things in my world. But I had asked my homegirl, because I was battling, should I call this, is hip hop facing divine judgment, or is hip hop under divine judgment? But you come from an educated background, so that will help the authorities in court. Yeah, see, you're, hold on one second, let me just, I don't even have no understanding for that type of mentality. I don't know why you're here, but you can definitely exit, can't go out the same door that you came in. But is hip hop facing divine judgment, or is hip hop under divine judgment, right? And I decided on facing because when you use the word under, it denotes that someone or something is, who is deciding or what is deciding, right? This concept of judgment. So it could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the ancestors, it could be, whatever your concept of spirituality. And even if you don't have one, right? Just the idea of being under judgment, maybe from a superior, maybe from a parent, right? So is hip hop under divine judgment, or is hip hop facing the divine judgment? Facing implies there's a mirror. Facing implies self-accountability. Facing implies that your heaven or your hell is a result of how you think and how you live. So facing was more appropriate, right? But I just really, this is a microcosm of the macrocosm, because even as, and I've seen people attacking the sister who is, I think she's the district attorney, or is she the mayor? I can't remember. No, it's not the mayor. I think she was the district attorney, the one that was in the video. And I've seen people say so many mean-spirited things about her and drag her. And I don't know her, who she's married to. I don't know anything about her life. I don't need to know anything about her life to know that even if you feel some type of way about the way that she's, like, first of all, if it's true, if these are gang members, if they are murdering Black men in the community, if they are involved with robberies, and, if it was a white man coming in the Black community, y'all, all hell would be breaking loose. So we co-sign certain Black murder. Is that what it is we're saying? I don't know. It's it's perplexing to me. The power of the music depends upon the grade of spiritual evolution that a person has touched. That's from Hazrat Inayat Khan. And I put this comment in there because it's really for something for us to consider. It's really something for us to consider in terms of the type of music that our culture is producing, whether you listen to it or not, right? The type of music that our culture is producing and the way that it's resonating around the world. it depends, the power of the music depends upon the grade of spiritual evolution that a person has touched. So I hear people say all the time, music is powerful. Maybe. And then it can also be used for, righteous and love frequency-based purposes, or it can be used to destroy people, which it has and which it is. Drill is a branch of music, rap music, that can be compared to trap music. Both are about life in the streets, but while trap music is about the trap, hence the name, and the drug dealing side of things, drill music is about the violent side of the streets. Drill is aggressive, dark, violent, and about guns and shootings. It's called drill music because the term drill refers to killing, doing a hit, or retaliating. For example, if someone says, "We doing a drill," it means someone's about to get shot up. Now, this is from urbandictionary.com, you guys. So that's why it reads like this, because they type how we actually talk in the culture, right? These aggressive things are evident in music videos. Drill rap originated in the South Side of Chicago in the early 2010s and was made popular by Chief Keef, Lil Reese, Lil Durk, and others. New York is another drill hub in the US. Brooklyn and UK drill emerged in the mid-2010s. Many Brooklyn drill rappers use UK drill beats. Some popular Brooklyn rappers are Bobby Shmurda, Chef G, Sleepy Hollow, and 22 Gs. Pop Smoke, who also rapped over drill beats, is arguably the most popular from this region. UK drill originated in the South London district of Brixton, and their wicked beats are used around the globe. Many drill songs are diss songs between gang sets. In Chicago, drill music fueled the GD/BD, that's Gangsta Disciples, and BD, I forget what that is, beef, as members dissed dead ops in their songs. One notable song from this area is the Computers remix by Wooski, who disliked 10 dead people in the song and later survived a gunshot wound to the head while at a friend's funeral. In Brooklyn, Chef G and 22 Gs have dissed each other back and forth with their other songs, Suburban plus Suburban 2 plus No Suburban Part 2. You probably don't want your mother to catch you listening to drill rap. Be careful where you blast drill music, because you're okay with your car becoming your coffin. Now, when I started, I've been hearing about drill music for a long time, right? But I just been, it's just so many fires at any given time to focus on. And you know what I mean? It just is like, no, I can't handle anything else. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I never actually really looked into it until I started researching for this video. And I'd had a couple of, people that follow me that sent me some videos and content. So I watched a 1-hour documentary yesterday that just blew my mind when it came to how drill rap actually started. I've been hearing about Chief Keef for a long time, right? I never really probably heard his music and didn't know what I was listening to, but so I didn't really know what drill rap was per se. But when I watched this 1-hour documentary, to see these beautiful young Black boys and young Black men so completely out of their minds, so completely detached from the God self, so completely immersed in this savage, uncivilized, and uncivilized is, let's just say savage and self-hating, dysfunctional, traumatic experiences. I remember when I was reading, there was a book called What is the What? And it was about the boys who survived the Rwandan genocide. And it was the 10,000 boys who made the trek through the Saharan desert. It was a big thing in the news, but it was these 10,000 boys who were fleeing from their homes during this Rwanda genocide. So anyway, that idea and that concept of 10,000 boys walking through the desert, right? And there was, some of the boys got eaten by lions. Like, they were in the middle of the desert, right? So they were dealing with all of the harshest realities of nature. no food, starving, you know, et cetera, you know, a horrible number of them actually made the track out of the 10,000. But this is the reality that a lot of our sons are living in these war zones in this country. And, you know, it's a metaphoric example that I'm giving, but they're literally trapped in these war zones. And so I'm looking at these babies and I'm looking at these young Black men, and I really I understand how one aspect of them is broken and damaged and dysfunctional and dangerous, and dare I say irreparable. I believe everybody is worthy of redemption, but you got to want it, right? That's what determines if it's repairable or not. But I can still see the beauty. I can still see the potential. I can still see the promise, you know what I mean? And that God essence that's innately in all of us, right? But I'm watching these videos, right? And then I'm researching Chief Keef. Let me stop this for a second because I want you guys to be mindful of something. Listen to the music and the frequency of this song, because I'm going to compare it to another video in just a second. But this was apparently the song that launched Chief Keef into, you know, major superstar status. If I read the article correctly, Bang Bang is the name of this song, if the article was actually correct. Or this is one of the songs that sort of launched him into becoming an international star. But listen to the frequency of this music. I'm only going to play it for about 30 seconds and just listen to it, because I'm going to juxtapose this to this other video. All right, so you can hear, if you're listening to the lyrics, a lot of the music is about shooting. A lot of the music is about shooting. Even the lyrics I was looking at from some of these other videos and just listening to these videos, like, man, this is like 3 minutes full of just like, you know, I killed him. It's super stressful listening to this shit. I have no idea how people listen to this without, you know, this music stresses me out. But let's juxtapose this. A lot of you guys have seen parts of this video, 432 hertz, 440 hertz. I've played this video in videos as well as in presentations in person, you know, talking about the 442 hertz versus 440 hertz. Before I play this, well, actually, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to play this first and then I'll give it context. So just so you can compare and contrast the sound from that song. The first frequency is 432 hertz. Same frequency as the solar system, water, life. Now listen to this one. This is 440 hertz. This sounds just like the Chief Keef song. Well, let's play it again. So, okay, I hear that with my ear, right? But I also feel some type of way. And, you know, I, as well as a lot of other people, have been talking about cymatics and about these whole frequency vibrations and how they impact the mind as well as the body, right? Most of the music around the world has been tuned to 440 hertz since ISO, or International Standards Organization, endorsed it in 1953. The recent discoveries of vibratory or oscillatory nature of the universe that happened recently show that this contemporary international pitch standard may actually generate an unhealthy effect or antisocial behavior in the consciousness of humans. A equals 432 hertz, which is also known as Verdi's A, is actually an alternative tuning, which is mathematically consistent with the universe. The music, which is actually based on 432 hertz, transmits some beneficial healing energy, as it is a pure tone of math, fundamental to nature. Now, I've been talking about frequency wars, frequency wars, frequency wars. This is the frequency war. There's also a theory which says that the change from 432 hertz to 440 hertz was actually dictated by Nazi propaganda minister named Joseph Goebbels. He used it in order to make people think and feel a certain manner, as well as to make them a prisoner of certain consciousness. Then, somewhere around the year 1940, the United States introduced 440 hertz around the world. And finally, in 1953, it became the ISO standard. 440 hertz, is in fact the unnatural standard tuning frequency, which is removed from the symmetry of sacred vibrations, as well as overtones, which also declare war on the subconscious mind of Western man. In one paper, which is entitled Music Cult Control, Dr. Leonard Horowitz wrote, the music industry features this imposing frequency, which is herding populations into some greater aggression, social agitation, as well as emotional distress, predisposing people to some physical illness. That is exactly how I felt, you know, and I'm saying that it had a negative impact on how I was feeling as I was listening to this music and I was reading through these lyrics. It's not invigorating. You know what I mean? 10 years ago, Chief Keef launched drill music into the mainstream. The Chicago upstart went viral before the industry knew how to measure it. And an entire subgenre of rap blossomed from his brilliance. Really? This is I did a search in YouTube for UK drill rap culture, and you can see that this video shows. Let me just start it over from the beginning because it's really short. I'm just scrolling down after doing a search on UK, United Kingdom, in Europe, drill rap culture, which was obviously inspired by drill rap culture in Chicago and New York, right? So the frequency again is magnifying. The frequency is expanding and growing. Drill rappers that died in 2021. This is a real thing. And then somebody did a video called UK drill rappers that killed civilians. And so you watch the video and somebody did a whole like investigative expose showing rappers that actually talked about killing people in their songs who were later convicted and went to jail or ended up being killed or something. It's like a whole collage of rappers telling on themselves in music in the United Kingdom, and real true stories about people that they actually killed. And so these are the things that you when you search United Kingdom rap culture that come up in YouTube. So this is again the frequency, the trauma-based frequency of a lot of Black culture in America, in the ghettos and in the hoods of America, is being exasperated and is being harnessed all over the world to embody a culture of death. 18-year-old UK drill rapper Donovan Allen stabbed to death. So this is global trauma bonding now. In the book, The Mysticism of Sound and Music, I'm almost done, you guys. I'm going to let you go shortly. Excuse me. somebody said in the chat room, said idiots making it easy for the feds. How about you not kill Black men? So the feds don't have a job in terms of looking for you for killing Black men. How about Black men stop killing Black men and we don't have to worry about the feds? I think that's a better point of focus. In the book, The Mysticism of Sound and Music, quote, the voice, right? Because we talk about music a lot, right? The power of music, the power of sound, but the voice is the critical component. The voice is not only indicative of man's character, but it is also the expression of his spirit. This is critical right here. The voice is not only indicative of man's character, but it is the expression of his spirit. Now think about that, and think about that Chief Keef song and all those brothers holding their hands up and acting like they're shooting guns, and all the, all of the imagery and the language in the song that talk about killing, right? So that language and that voice, not just the words that he's speaking, but his voice is the expression of his spirit. The voice is not only audible, but also visible to those who can see it. The voice makes expressions on the ethereal sphere, impressions which can be called audible. At the same time, they are visible. Those scientists who have made experiments with sound and have taken impressions of the sound on certain plates, which impressions appear like forms, will one day find that the impression of the voice is more living, more deep, and has a greater effect. Sound can be louder than the voice, but sound cannot be more living than the voice. That is so powerful. When I first read that, I just had to like really sit back and think about that. The voice is living. Your voice is living. It's not just that, you're listening to me right now and you can hear the sound of my voice, but my voice is actually living and vibrating a certain type of resonance, right? That's gonna become a part of the collective consciousness, not just the sound. This is another quote that I'm gonna read from his book. This same book is on, let me see, hold on, let me switch my screen here. I won't be too much longer. Thanks guys for hanging in there with me. So this is I'm gonna quote in a continuum, the mysticism of sound and music. He says, if you take careful notice in everyday life, you will find that sometimes before a person has finished his sentence, you have become annoyed. It is not because of what he has said, but it is his voice. And you will also notice, perhaps not every day in your life, but sometimes, that you once heard someone say something that was always remain with you. It gives always a beautiful feeling. It is always soothing, it is healing, it is uplifting, it is inspiring. In the history of the world, have not men marched hundreds of miles with strength and vigor, not knowing what they were to face, on hearing the voice of their commander? Quick march. It seemed that all fear, all anxiety were taken away, and all vigor and courage were given to them as they were going to march. And have you not heard of commanders who said, fire? And the soldiers turned back and fired at them. That was the voice too. The voice, therefore, is a wine. It may be the best wine, and it may be the worst liquor. It may be a person ill, or it may uplift him. It may make a person ill, or it may uplift him. There are 5 different qualities of the voice, which are connected with the peculiar character of the person. The earth quality of the voice is hope-giving, encouraging, tempting. The water quality is intoxicating, soothing, healing, uplifting. The fire quality is impressive, arousing, exciting, horrifying. At the same time, it is awakening, because very often warning is given in the voice of the fire quality. The use of the words tongues of flame in the Old Testament is a narrative of that voice and word, which were warning of coming dangers. It was warning for the people to awaken from their sleep, to awaken to a greater consciousness, to a higher consciousness. Then there is the air quality of the voice. It is uplifting, raising a person, taking him far, far away from the plane of the earth. And the ether quality of the voice is inspiring, healing, peace-giving, harmonizing, convincing, appealing. At the same time, it is most intoxicating. The most wonderful part in the study of the voice is that from the voice, you can find out a man's particular evolution, his stage of evolution. You do not need to see the person, just his voice will tell you where he is, how far he has evolved. There is no doubt that the character of the person is apparent, is evident in his voice. I know that was a little bit lengthy, but that just was so critical to me because we so undervalue the most critical things. We think it's just about going in the studio and making a hit record, and it's a lot of that, and it's the drums and the beat, and it's the ability to rhyme and put together, 16 bars or to put together a whole song melodically. But the voice is carrying a certain frequency that stays with and resonates in the song forever. Now, the quality of that signal now, based on digital music, opposed to when we had vinyl records, for instance, the shift between vinyl records and then CDs and then eventually digital music. So now digital music doesn't have anywhere near the organic frequency, in the pitch of the signals that it was normally carrying, because there's no organic substance to it outside of the voice. Maybe if there's drums in the background instead of, drum on a computer versus an actual drum in the background is two different frequencies, right? But as I've been talking about the synthetic war or an organic life form, this is just another variation of that, digitizing music now. So that's, like I said, a little longer passage, but it's important to start looking at things in the surface, on a surface, beyond the surface level, excuse me. There was something else I wanted to say about this, and I think I lost my thought, but that's okay. Let's keep it pushing. I'm almost done, you guys. I showed this image in the previous video. This was in the pineal gland, and this was also in, this was in the pineal gland video where I was showing the correlation between the chakra system and the juxtaposing that with the music scale and the piano scale and the frequencies of different harmonies, right? And so I went more in depth in this in the pineal gland. I'm a little bit over time now. I'm already at 1 hour, 3 minutes. But just to give a synopsis, right? Juxtaposing the energies, the frequencies, the sound of the music. Well, all of our chakra system have a corresponding frequency, right? That meets or greets or transmutes based on whichever particular chakra, right? So the survival mode chakra has a frequency or music tone resonance, right? Sex chakra, willpower, control, and ego. And these are just the heart chakra, the sacral chakra, right? These are just representations of how these behaviors express themselves in you, right? I don't even know if I'm in my point now, but I'm still thinking about the thing that I forgot to say. But this is really fascinating. I kind of go more into depth in this in the pineal gland video. I'm going to keep it pushing so we can hurry up and close this out and you guys can enjoy the rest of your evening. I think this is my last slide, is it not? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, here we go. Oh, my screen got stuck. Okay, no, this is definitely not my last slide. Okay, so PNB Rock. First of all, let me say rest in peace to this brother who seemed like a very intelligent young man. I wasn't really familiar with his music. I knew one song that he had with Meek Mill that I really liked. And I think my son probably listened to his music, and that's how I was familiar with him. But I'm not going to talk specifically about him because it's just too soon and it's just too raw. So I don't want to get into his lyrics, or I didn't start trying to look into any of that because I don't want to, it's just too soon. And I have respect for the family's grieving process. I have respect for his girlfriend or his children's mother. It's not just his girlfriend, his children's mother and everything that she's going through. It's just too soon, right? What I do want to talk about is everything that has happened as a result, particularly the vitriolic energy that has been directed towards his girlfriend. And I want to ask us a question as a culture. Why is it that we as Black people handle death in such a, it brings out the worst in a lot of us. Death really does in our culture, and I know this is not just a Black thing, but this is the world I know, right? This is, and it's particular to this subject and all subjects, especially when it comes to rappers and celebrity deaths and whatnot, right? We are horrible at the way that we handle death. There's no sacred time. There's no, okay, we all kind of know you don't say anything for a certain amount of time. I always hear people talk about codes, and I still haven't seen any legitimate representation of codes culturally, but I digress. But if we should have a code for anything, first and foremost, shouldn't it be about how to handle death? Shouldn't there be a certain amount of time before you just go online and start popping off at the mouth and talking about people's business that you really don't even know if what you're saying is accurate or not? People that are online within 24 hours of the death saying they know what happened really kind of irritate me in a different type of way. As the investigation into PNB Rock's death continues, the rapper's girlfriend is under scrutiny for sharing their geolocation moments before his death. A recent statement from law enforcement officials said that they believe Rock was targeted based on information on social media. The rapper posted a video of himself in the parking lot of Roscoe's with his chains on before his girlfriend tagged their location on her story. So, however the social media aspect played into this, she wasn't the only one. I just love how we have this culture now that's in these sort of like knee-jerk reactors, these anti-Black woman kind of characters online that are just waiting for the next story so they can go online and express their anti-Black woman hatred. Kodak Black said that hoe might as well kill herself. What? I'm sorry, what? They had a child together. Do you think this man would have wanted any of you guys to be talking to his children's mother like this? And she was traumatized, and actually this happened right in front of her? So the point that I want to make about this is that, and Nicki Minaj, and I, whatever, she's not really even, I just reference her because she's one of the avatars for the 85%. But it's true. It's true. I'm seeing a lot of conversation about security, and rightfully so. I mean, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. I don't need to say what everybody else is saying, right? But the point that I want to make,
like, I'm never finna just be out here moving.
Hold on.
So it's like I'm never finna just be out here moving reckless.
You know what I'm saying? Checking on me, shit. I'm good. My family good. Thank God. I just need y'all to do one thing for me, though, man. Send a prayer up for PNB Rock and his kids, King Vine and his kids, and all the kids out here that got to grow without their pops. You feel me? And I had to go through that. I grew without my pops because he was killed. You feel me? And that shit ain't easy at all. So send the prayers, and we just gonna wish many blessings on them.
This is an appropriate response.
Another thing I want to share with the artists out here.
This is
we
King
gotta watch
talk.
what we speaking into existence, man. I know we looking at it like we just making music, it's art and all this shit and that. But these words is powerful, bro. And just like we can speak some good shit into existence, we can speak some bad shit into existence. You feel me? So we gotta really be careful what we saying about ourselves when we make this music, man. Speak in third person, create some characters or something like that and tell us, shit like that. You gotta be careful what we say out here. Yeah, that's it.
That's an appropriate response. That's a grown man response. This is a grown man response. That's an appropriate response. That's king talk right there. When I say king talk, queen talk, I mean a king is somebody that accepts accountability for the greater, for the whole, right? Yeah, I can say and do whatever I want to, but I understand that my language has consequences, and that I have a platform that I can actually use to raise the vibration instead of being a part of the common consensus, right? So I appreciate T Grizzly and I appreciate Simba for bringing
A lot of people
balance.
are calling me about the
So it's like I'm never
Appreciate everybody
saying
else.
Wait a minute. Not Donald Trump, not just yet. I just wanted to say I appreciate Simba and T Grizzly and, you know, Big Sean. I love Big Sean. The brothers that are in that industry, but that are actually using their platforms, using their music to be balanced, right? That's the best we can ask for. And especially when they're doing these interviews and whatnot. I just wanted to make sure that that we pay homage for that.
A lot of people are calling me about the Mac Miller rap song.
Yo, Ice, I did a concert in the White House, and after that, me and Donald Trump hung out. Beef was going on like Donald Trump gets checks. Trump change. Nah, Trump change, rather not Trump change. Trump change. I'm talking Donald Trump change. I'm talking Steve, I'm talking, you know, Trump change. Let me in there. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in there. Alcoholic freaks, so remedy. Y'all need dumb Donald Trump, is y'all hearing me? Machiavelli returns, and God forgives, and I don't. Resurrection of the real time to get richer than Trump. But I take over the world when I'm on my Donald Trump. Look at all this money, ain't that something? Yeah, I'm a good looking rapper, I ain't trying to stunt. I'ma fire my blunt like Donald Trump. Yeah, thumbs up. Home see more hoes in the golf course, hold on the trunk up. Like Donald Trump, they swing like them Trump.
The Donald Trump song just hit over 20 million. That's not so bad. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, we know. Imagine rappers of all these different generations that have been sort of putting this man's name out into the ether, right? A recent CNN piece found that between 1989 and 2016, Trump was mentioned at least 318 times in rap lyrics. Between 2015 and 2016, 83 songs have mentioned Trump. Most of the mentions have been negative. And 83 negative out of 318 times, that's not really good odds. But the point is, in understanding the power of the tongue and understanding the power of song, a lot of times we're creating things in third dimensional reality based on what we're paying attention to and based on what we're giving our energy to. Donald Trump has been a major, even in celebrity culture, sort of, you know, looming background character in reality TV, etc. But especially being enamored for his money, right? Which is, I'm getting ready to close out with this concept of materialism, because I think it is extremely hypocritical for mainstream artists in particular to grandstand and to, you know, re-emphasize, or I shouldn't say re-emphasize, I should say, you know, the conversation about security and, oh, you shouldn't be moving like that. All of those things are important. All of those things are things that particularly men, young men in hip hop need to hear their elders talk about, right? So emphasizing that, but the emphasis on materialism in hip hop and in rap culture is the main reason, or the main sort of, not just in hip hop culture, but also in Black culture in general, particularly in the ghetto or in the hood. I hate when I say ghetto, it sounds horrible. In the hood, the things that are sort of etched in the culture in terms of having a chain and what that means, having a fly chain and what that means, having a fly car and what that means, being able to pull out bands, right, out of your pocket. That didn't just start now. That's been, you know, going on for a long time in our communities and in our culture. But the emphasis on materialism is the point that I'm making. Because it's not just whether or not you have security. Simba said, I feel like we're stunting on our own people. And that's exactly what it is. Pharrell's go-to jeweler has been mentioned in over 68 songs. Who were the first celebs to support your brand? This is Jacob the jeweler. Jay-Z, both of the Dolce & Gabbana's sister designers, Elton John and David Beckham. Diddy was one of the biggest promoters on the brand. He had a lot to do with my success. Then I started being mentioned in rap songs from people that never even met me. I've been named in over 68 different songs now. Now let's recall in my last video in the headline news section, I talked about Moses West, the brother who has created a contraption in order to be able to take air, the dew in the air, or the moisture in the air, and taking this contraption and, you know, creating actual water. They call it water out of thin air, but it's, you know, you guys saw the video. But anyway, the point is, imagine if his name had been mentioned in over 68 songs. Imagine if our rappers, the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, the Lil Wayne's, the LeBron James, even though, you know, his relative, all his black star power, the Beyoncé's, and why doesn't that man have these people's support? "27-year-old American Symere Woods is the happy owner of a 10-carat pink diamond ring worth $24 million. The whole world knows Symere as the popular rapper Lil Uzi Vert, and people know about his diamond too because it has been implanted in the rapper's forehead for a long time. Answering the numerous questions why, the rapper says without hesitation, that was the first time I saw a real natural pink diamond. A lot of M's in my face. Yes, my Bugatti can't even pay for it. All my cars together plus home. 24 million on a ring is the stupidest idea because I'm gonna look down at that ring and it ain't gonna be there." Anyway, I'm reading this just to sort of, you spent $24 million to put a diamond in the middle of your forehead. I don't know where this guy is from in America, but I can guarantee you that there's a lot of people that would have been able to benefit off of that, you know, that type of, you could have spent 2 million. You could have spent 2 million on the diamond and put that other 20 million back into your culture. It's the emphasis on the materialism that I'm really trying to stress here, because this is a part of the culture that is embedded in this Black male on male violence. A lot of times it's relating to robberies. A lot of times it's relating to the hustle mentality. And I know these are, you know, things that are, you know, from the hood, right? It's not music problems. It's things from the hood that spill over into the music not vice versa. But to whom much is giving, much is expected. I don't really see black high profile rappers right now stepping up to the moment at all. None. And again, spiritual warfare looming, economic crash looming, food shortages looming. Every other day they're talking about blackouts, sudden adult death syndrome now, some new shit on the horizon that just came out of nowhere. Cough, cough. China is in full military operation lockdown. So is Australia. Black artists don't have anything to say about that. Jay-Z's bragging about being a billionaire and doesn't have anything to say that is significant or powerful in 2022, except the fact that he's a billionaire. I don't know. And again, you can't be mad at me for holding Black men and holding rappers accountable, because I am heavily invested in hip hop. I am a true hip hop fan and a lover of Black culture, and have supported all of these people in different ways over the course of my life. But there's too much clown shit going on in our culture. There's no real manhood in terms of this segment of our culture stepping forward. And there's nowhere else in the world. Let me see what slide I got left. I'm going to end on this slide. There's nowhere else in the world where you have any particular race of men, and I'm going to say men because it's, you know, it sounds absurd when it comes to women, where you have any particular high profile men that have money, that have influence, right? That have successful careers, successful businesses, that are just known for being murdered on a continuous level. Continuously, traumatically murdered. And these scenes play out in front of the world continuously. So the spiritual aspect of this is supposed to be, in my opinion, the softening of the heart. It's supposed to be, in my opinion, Hiram Abiff recognizing that he's been laying in a shallow grave and that he was prophesized to be dead for a certain amount of time, but originally he was supposed to get up out of the grave and become the ruler again. Doesn't look like that's happening. The unforgiving, mean, evil, spirited, wicked, lack of spiritual discernment that I have seen people project towards this female who went through this experience with PNB Rock, her child's father, is deplorable. Black people, we should be ashamed of ourselves. There was some content from this one guy I was going to share, but I don't, people don't know how to have intellectual disagreements online. They start, they want to pick up mud and start throwing it when they get mad because so they think you singling them out. But it's like our culture is just looking for a reason to just, to be angry with Black women, to blame Black women. We know it's 99% probability that the man who killed PNB Rock was a Black man. We're more focused on her than we are on him. And we know the whole thing was caught on camera. We know people in the actual Waffle House actually saw it. There's a whole group of people in that restaurant that were extremely traumatized. Our culture is magnifying trauma, and it's magnifying a culture of death. I'm not saying all. I'm not saying there's not some good rappers. I'm not saying there's some good things, but the proof is in the pudding. I just talked for an hour and 20 minutes. Drill rap is a real thing. So we can celebrate and honor the ancestors. We can celebrate and honor melanin, the power of melanin, but melanin can also work against you. I talked about that in, where did I talk about that? I think in Black Matters Volume 1, but I've been talking about this consistently. Dr. Carol Barnes, I think it was, who talked about melanin being a bonding compound. Melanin takes in, foreign particles, and if it accepts the foreign particle or the foreign substance into the system, it's gonna bond to it. So that's a physical lesson, but that's also a spiritual lesson. We're tethered to trauma, and we're radiating trauma around the world. So I feel like, you know what I mean? I'm not seeing enough from our men in hip hop. I'm not. You're being used for subversive purposes, particularly over these last 2.5 years. Satan is on 10 right now. I'm hearing a lot of we are the people of God. Okay, prove it. Get control of your sons. Use your music and your platforms to promote awareness and programs and people that are actually helping our sons. And I know Diddy is doing some things, but I also know Diddy got Carisha on Revolt having a sex porn interview series every other week. Like it's it's the good with the bad, right? I don't expect celebrities to do anything that I personally wouldn't do. They have more financial resources than me, but in terms of my time and my energy and the things that I've created and put into the collective consciousness, I've 1000% been on my square. So I feel like I can say this. And I feel like more women need to say this. And I feel like more women in the industry need to say this. Black energy is being harnessed. The whole situation with the Little Mermaid is a perfect example. We have our children online, being happy and exciting to see a representation of themselves in a film that's being put on by a pedophile organization. I don't know, how much can you celebrate that? Harnessing Black energy, as long as we can get the attention on Disney, it doesn't matter how we get it here. And we know the beautiful people, the beautiful ones, is how we do that. So that's what they do. Kanye West, ultimate Gemini, battling the dark and the lightness within himself. And you can see it every time he posts online. More about him later. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for rocking with me. hour and 27 minutes. I might take this video down and break it down into clips. I'm a one-woman show, and I just like to do the videos and just put it up and be done with it. You know, it takes a lot of time you do a 1.5 hour video and then you have to cut that into pieces. It takes a lot of time to sit down and do that stuff, you know? So we'll see what happens, but I'm grateful to you guys for your energy. It's late. I know it is. It's very late on the East Coast. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be putting up part 2 sometime soon. But again, Atlanta tickets are on sale for 24 hours only. You can get your ticket 20% off until midnight tomorrow. Very thankful and appreciative for you guys' time and attention. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace and love. Oh, in Brooklyn, September 24th. I'll see you guys. You can get tickets on my website or at Nicholas Brooklyn. Peace.